Let's get right into it. Number 9. The sky that rains animals. Imagine walking down the street on a normal day when suddenly a fish hits you in the face. This isn't the start of a bad joke. This is a Tuesday in Honduras. For centuries, people reported strange cases of animals falling from the sky. We're talking fish, frogs, and even spiders raining down like some biblical plague. The culprit is something called a waterspout, which is basically a tornado that forms over water. These sky vacuums are so powerful they can suck up small animals just minding their own business. These poor creatures get lifted hundreds of feet into the air. Yeah, 1 second you're a fish swimming around, next second you're flying economy class without a ticket. When the waterspout runs out of steam, it drops its cargo wherever. Could be your backyard, could be your windshield. In Honduras, this happens so often they actually have a festival for it called Lluvia de Peces, literally rain of fish. But it's not just fish getting the sky treatment. Back in the 1980s, entire towns in England got showered with tiny frogs. The weirdest part is these animal rains usually only drop one type of creature at a time. The waterspouts are apparently picky, only grabbing creatures of similar size and weight. It's like nature's version of a sorting machine, except instead of organizing candy by color, it's organizing animals by how aerodynamic they are. So next time someone tells you it's raining cats and dogs, you can correct them. It's probably just frogs, or fish, or if you're really unlucky, spiders. Number 8. The light beams from heaven. Picture this. You're walking home on a freezing night. You look up and freeze. Massive beams of light are shooting straight into the sky. It looks like aliens are about to abduct your neighbor's cow. But what's actually happening is way cooler than any UFO story. These are light pillars, and they're basically nature showing off with mirrors. When it gets super cold outside, tiny ice crystals form in the air. These aren't your regular chunky ice cubes, though. They're microscopic, flat, six-sided crystals that float around like tiny disco balls. But these ice crystals are lazy, and they like to lay flat as they drift through the air. When light from street lamps hits these flat-laying ice crystals, they all reflect the light straight up. It's like having millions of tiny mirrors in the sky, all pointing the same way. And because these ice crystals are spread out at different heights, it creates what looks like a solid beam of light. People have been losing their minds over these for centuries. Some thought they were messages from gods. Others swore aliens were marking landing spots. During World War II, these light pillars caused actual panic. Air raid wardens would spot these beams and sound the alarm, thinking enemy searchlights were targeting their cities. Entire towns would black out their windows and hide in basements, all because some ice crystals decided to put on a light show. Number 7. The giant hole punched in the clouds. Imagine looking up and seeing a perfect circular hole in the clouds, like God took a giant cookie cutter to the sky. For years, people were convinced these were UFO landing spots. Turns out it's caused by airplanes. These holes, called fall streak holes, happen when an airplane flies through certain types of clouds. Up there, the clouds are full of tiny water droplets that are basically breaking the laws of physics. These droplets are staying liquid even though they're way below freezing temperature, like that one friend who refuses to wear a jacket in winter. So here comes an airplane, cruising through these rebellious water droplets. The plane's wings create a sudden drop in air pressure. This is basically like giving these confused water droplets a wake-up call. They suddenly realize they're supposed to be frozen and turn into ice crystals. Once a few droplets freeze, they start peer pressuring all their neighboring droplets to freeze too. It's like the world's coldest pyramid scheme. These ice crystals get bigger and heavier until gravity pulls them down. As they fall, they leave behind this perfect circular hole in the clouds. Sometimes you can even see trails of ice falling from these holes, and depending on how the plane flies through the cloud, you can get different shapes. If the plane goes through at a steep angle, you get a perfect circle, but if it cruises through more gradually, you end up with these long canal-like shapes. Number 6. The desert that sings its own doom. You're walking through a desert at sunset. Suddenly, a deep, haunting hum rises from the sand. It sounds like some massive creature is growling underground, warning you to leave. Welcome to the Singing Dunes, nature's creepiest concert. These dunes create sounds so loud they can be heard miles away. Even Marco Polo was freaked out by them. He thought evil spirits were making the noise, which honestly isn't the worst guess. But it's not demons. It's billions of sand grains having the world's most synchronized dance party. When sand slides down the dune, each grain bumps into its neighbors. One grain makes a tiny sound, but millions together? That's a full bass concert that'll rattle your bones. These sandy performers are divas, though. They'll only sing if everything's perfect. The grains need to be almost perfectly round, exactly the same size, and squeaky clean. No dust, no moisture. These are the Beyoncé of geological formations. They don't perform unless conditions are flawless. Each dune has its own voice. Some hit a perfect G-sharp. Others go full orchestra, belting out multiple notes like they're auditioning for Desert's Got Talent. The sound can reach 105 decibels. That's as loud as a chainsaw. Imagine being an ancient traveler, alone in the desert, when the ground starts screaming at you. No wonder people thought it was cursed. Number 5. The day it rained blood. Imagine waking up to red droplets falling from the sky. Your car's covered in crimson. The streets look like a crime scene. This is the stuff of nightmares. Throughout history, blood rain has made people lose their minds. Ancient Greeks thought the gods were bleeding. Medieval folks were convinced the world was ending. But it's not blood. It's the Sahara Desert throwing the world's longest distance tantrum. Strong winds sweep across the Sahara, picking up tiny red particles loaded with iron oxide, basically rust. These particles get lifted into clouds and can travel thousands of miles. When it rains, these rusty particles mix with the water and you get blood rain. Sometimes it's not even desert dust causing it. Sometimes it's tiny red algae spores that get caught up in the clouds. When they fall with rain, they cause an instant horror movie. In some cases, this red rain was so intense it stained people's clothes. There are even records of this stuff turning milk and butter red in northern Britain. Imagine being a medieval farmer, going to milk your cow, and getting strawberry milk instead. You'd think your cow was possessed. Number 4. The forest that flashes in unison. You're walking through a dark forest when suddenly thousands of lights start blinking in perfect sync. It's not a fairy tale. It's thousands of fireflies throwing nature's most coordinated rave. These bugs put on a light show that would make Vegas jealous. But they're not just randomly flashing. They're synchronized better than any boy band. Scientists finally figured out what's going on, and it's all about getting a date. See, there's this one firefly that starts the whole thing. They call it the pacemaker bug. Think of him as the DJ of this forest rave. He flashes, and every other male firefly joins in, creating a massive synchronized light show. Why? Because female fireflies are more impressed by 1,000 bugs flashing together than one lonely bug trying to get attention. It's like the difference between one guy with a guitar versus a full rock concert. Their timing is so perfect, scientists needed special cameras just to prove they weren't hallucinating. These bugs coordinate better than a professional dance crew, and they're doing it with brains smaller than a grain of rice. In Southeast Asia, fireflies do their show while chilling on trees, but North American fireflies are show-offs. They synchronize while flying around in the dark. That's like trying to coordinate a flash mob while everyone's on trampolines. Number 3. The eerie glow before an earthquake. You're outside at night when the sky starts glowing with ghostly lights. This is the Earth about to rip itself apart. For centuries, people reported seeing weird lights before major earthquakes. Glowing sheets, dancing flashes, floating orbs. In 869, Japanese folks wrote about strange lights in the sky before a massive quake. Everyone thought they were crazy. They weren't. Here's what's happening. Certain rocks, especially ones packed with quartz, act like giant batteries under pressure. When tectonic plates grind together, these rocks get squeezed so hard, they release massive bursts of electrical energy. This electrical discharge is so powerful it can ionize the air above ground. In other words, it turns regular air into glowing plasma. The really freaky part is these lights can show up hundreds of kilometers away from where the earthquake actually hits, so you could be watching this light show on perfectly stable ground, while somewhere else, the Earth is tearing itself a new one. Number 2. The ocean that glows electric blue. You're on a beach at night when the waves start glowing electric blue. Every splash lights up like liquid lightning. It looks like someone dumped 1,000,000 glow sticks in the ocean. This is caused by tiny organisms called dinoflagellates. These little guys are basically the drama queens of the ocean. Touch them, and they light up. A wave crashes? They must put on a light show. A fish swims by? Obviously they need more lights. Your midnight swim? Well, now they have to light up. But they're not showing off for fun. This is their burglar alarm. When something tries to eat them, they flash bright blue to basically scream, "Hey everyone, look at this jerk trying to eat me." It's like calling 911, but with bioluminescence. When conditions are perfect, entire coastlines can light up like an underwater rave party. Sometimes you can even see dolphins swimming through the glowing water, leaving trails of blue light behind them like underwater comets. People have seen their footprints light up blue while walking along the wet sand. The light is so bright you can read by it. Ancient sailors thought it was sea spirits. Some cultures believed it was the ocean's soul showing itself. Really, it's just billions of microscopic organisms having simultaneous panic attacks, and somehow, that makes it even more magical. Number 1. The Army of Ice Spikes. Imagine hiking through the Andes Mountains, and suddenly you stumble upon what looks like a frozen army. Thousands of sharp ice spikes, all pointing in the same direction, like they're ready for battle. These aren't your average icicles. They're called penitentes, and they can grow taller than a person. You might think these spikes were carved by fierce mountain winds. That's what Charles Darwin thought too when he first saw them. But the sun is the artist here, and it's using a process that sounds like science fiction. In these high mountains, the sun is so intense and the air so thin that snow doesn't melt. It vanishes, goes straight from solid to gas, skipping the liquid phase entirely. Scientists call it sublimation. The rest of us call it sorcery. Once a tiny dip forms in the snow, it becomes a light trap. Sunlight bounces around inside like it's playing pinball, carving the dip deeper and deeper. Give it enough time, and you get these massive ice spikes that look like they're reaching for heaven. But these ice armies only form in places where the air is thinner than paper. We're talking about altitudes above 4,000 meters, where the air is so thin you'd be gasping for breath. The locals name them penitentes because they look like hooded monks doing penance, which is fitting, because if you stumble into a field of these things at night, you'll be praying too. And we've found evidence that these spiky formations might exist on other worlds too. Pluto might have its own army of ice spikes, and so might Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.